Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lincoln Riley, the USC Trojans, on an absolute heater on the recruiting trail, landing their fourth commitment of the day, coming from four-star safety Hylton Stubbs from the state of Florida. Now, y'all know I talk a lot of recruiting. This is a safety that I have talked a lot about over the last couple of weeks. One of my favorite safeties in this 2025 class. Just talked about Hylton Stubbs between Miami in Florida. USC gets him on campus this weekend, locks in the commitment from a safety that when you start talking about what Hylton Stubbs brings to the table, it starts with the ball hawking safety nature. This is a guy with phenomenal instincts in the back end, reading quarterback size, making plays on footballs. 6 interceptions his junior year of high school. This is a guy that just has a knack for finding the football and is really going to fit like a glove in this D'Anton Lynn defense that wants to force turnovers on the defensive side of the football. A massive commitment for this USC program. Want to dive into the film of Hylton Stubbs, talk about what he brings to this USC defense. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the USC fans. This is the fourth commitment we've talked about today. 4 separate times I've had to put on the USC sweatshirt, the commitment sweatshirt, we like to call it. The amount of support the USC fans have shown truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Who knows, we might be hopping back on a 5th time for a 5th commitment, but for real, thank you guys for rocking with the fellas. And without further ado, let's get into Hylton Stubbs. And again, when you're talking about Hylton Stubbs, it starts with the ball skills and the IQ that he has. You see a lot of safeties have the verified track times, the verified height and weight. And although Hylton Stubbs is a phenomenal athlete in and of himself, I think what Hylton Stubbs especially brings is just understanding the game of football at such a high level. Again, in the high school recruiting world, we like to talk about verified track times, verified height and weight. Hylton Stubbs is one of those guys that you turn on the film from Friday nights. That's when you really start appreciating what he's going to bring to this USC defense. Couple other notes, USC doing a phenomenal job in the state of Florida, right? You go last cycle, go and get Jason Zandamela, a top priority for Florida State, bring him to USC, and then you go out this class and take Hylton Stubbs, one of the top safeties and top players in the state of Florida, bring him to Southern California as well. USC doing a phenomenal job recruiting across the country. Now, I want to get into Hylton Drake Stubbs. This is a guy that, again, the film study is extremely exciting. You take a look at what Hylton Stubbs does best. It really starts with just reading the quarterback's eyes. And I mean, he already knows where the football is going, right? And he is going to locate that football, then the ball skills. I mean, he is phenomenal at high pointing, playing the football. That is something that you see a lot of young defensive backs really struggle with, right? When that football is in the air, not getting handsy, not committing those pass interferences and going up and playing the football. Hylton Stubbs, a phenomenal knack for doing that. Second play, you see kind of playing that robber, that single high safety, crunching down here. Again, reading the quarterback's eyes, and then more importantly, closing that distance. Look how much space there is to where this football is going to be. Hylton Stubbs breaking on the football, and again, the ball skills that he has, that is a phenomenal play. When it hits his hands, Hylton Stubbs is coming up with plays. And again, going back to the fit with this D'Anton Lynn defense, D'Anton Lynn, that UCLA defense was one of the best defenses in the country at forcing turnovers. D'Anton Lynn has a turnover machine, and Hylton Stubbs now coming in to play that back end of this USC defense, continuing to roll through the film. Again, single high safety. This is where I think he's playing his best football, when you're letting him hang back there, get a feel for what's happening in front of him, reading the quarterback's eyes, phenomenal instincts, phenomenal IQ. Again, high pointing the football. He is so comfortable playing that football in the air. It's extremely impressive, not only at the right place, at the right time, every single time, but when he has an opportunity to go make a game-changing play, he's consistently making those plays. Now, this is just an example of, I swear the ball just seems to gravitate to Hylton Stubbs, right? He's a guy that when that ball's on the ground, it just, I mean, almost like a magnetic force to his hands, making plays. A true game changer in the back end of this USC defense. The next couple reps you see, I mean, he's a guy that, yes, he's a ball hawking safety. That is what I love from him the most. but the instincts that he has, right? He's already seeing this tight end leaking into the flat. He is going to break on this play, and he is going to be physical. This is a guy that's not necessarily – Kalen Bullock last year was that kind of turnover machine for the last couple of years. Sometimes you wish he played with a little bit more physicality. Hylton Stubbs brings that kind of physicality to this USC defense. Another rep right here, largely sitting in, I think it looks like almost man coverage, but he is a guy that when that football is on the ground, he somehow always has the football in his hands. He's got a knack for playing the football. He's got a knack for creating plays. A really, really exciting prospect. And when you take a look at this USC class in 2025, it is, we started this day with one commitment. That was Julian Lewis. We end today. We're going to sleep with 4 commitments, all of which are in the top 100. We talked about Justice Terry. We talked about Isaiah Gibson. Now we're talking about Hylton Stubbs. And what's really standing out to me, look at the states where this is from. Talking about 3 of the best players, 3 of the top 6 players in the state of Georgia committed to USC. You had Elijah Griffin, who's the #1 player in the state of Georgia, on campus. Then you go out and get one of the top players from the state of Florida in Hylton Stubbs, bring them to California. Lincoln Riley, we've talked a lot about, all right, we want to see USC recruit their backyard better, recruit the state of California better. We want to see that. I think we all agree on that. But what we can really appreciate is USC recruiting across the country, right? Going into the state of Georgia, going into the state of Florida. There's a lot of talent there. USC is a national brand. Guys want to go to USC. To see Lincoln Riley go to the states of Georgia, go to the states of Florida, and pluck some of the top talent from programs like the Georgia Bulldogs, the Florida Gators, the Florida State Seminoles. And I think the craziest part about this is this was a USC team that significantly underperformed in 2023. And for them to attract all of this talent during an offseason where we thought things could get maybe a little bit hairy, what does it look like when USC starts winning football games again under Lincoln Riley? I think the recruiting is only going to go in the right direction at a faster clip. Lincoln Riley, we talked about it earlier today. He had to go through some growing pains. He had to make some radical changes to this program. And you look at what they're doing on the recruiting trail, it seems like those radical changes are paying off. Sometimes those ugly seasons are what programs need to get them back on track. I think 2023 might have been exactly what Lincoln Riley needs. Hylton Stubbs, another massive commitment for this USC program. Time to retire this USC sweatshirt, get a little bit of a wash in. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas again. Y'all know I love breaking down these commitments. Cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.